The dawn of the artificial intelligence era featured an unlikely early leader. Before ChatGPT exploded onto the scene in November 2022, Microsoft was known as the reliable, ubiquitous, and frankly boring giant behind Windows and the Office suite. Suddenly, thanks to an exclusive cloud partnership with ChatGPT's creator, OpenAI, the 47-year-old titan became the hottest thing in tech. Since then, it has generated over $2 trillion in shareholder value. Sure, that might sound humble compared to the AI revolution's official arms dealer, NVIDIA, which has supplied the world with chips and seen its own market cap soar past an astonishing $5 trillion. But by any other measure, Microsoft's transformation from a boring incumbent to an AI leader has been absolutely stunning. Microsoft's strategy was brilliant. It didn't try to build everything from scratch. It took a shortcut, investment plus alliance. Its relationship with OpenAI is incredibly nuanced and complex. At first, Microsoft held a tight grip, requiring OpenAI to prioritize its Azure cloud service. It was like a wealthy investor telling a genius inventor, "I'll fund you, but you have to build all your factories on my land." But on October 28th, Microsoft loosened the reins again. It granted OpenAI unlimited freedom to choose its cloud partners, no permission required. This sounded like a concession, but the devil is in the details. The stake. The new deal gives Microsoft a 27% stake in OpenAI. This is a massive, influential position. The revenue cut, Microsoft is entitled to 20% of OpenAI's revenue. The tech rights. Until 2032, Microsoft gets rights to all of OpenAI's technology. This includes the ultimate prize, superintelligence, if it ever materializes. This is Microsoft's trump card insurance policy. The giant rebate. In exchange, OpenAI will spend a staggering $250 billion on Microsoft's cloud services in the coming years. Do you see the genius here? Microsoft essentially handed OpenAI a $250 billion Microsoft gift card and told them to buy Microsoft's cloud services to train its AI. Then, Microsoft takes 20% of the money OpenAI makes. It's a perfect closed-loop business model where Microsoft wins coming and going. Microsoft's partner-up strategy set the tone for the entire industry, which we can call the AI stack division of labor. Imagine building a super skyscraper. You need 3 different roles. The foundation and steel crew, chip makers. This is NVIDIA and AMD. They design and build the brains of AI. The GPUs, graphics processing units. This is the physical hardware. The architects, AI labs. This is OpenAI and its rival, Anthropic. They designed the blueprints for the large language models, which are the souls or intelligence of the AI. The landlord and utility cloud providers. This is Microsoft Azure and Amazon AWS. They are the hyperscalers who buy mountains of GPUs, build massive data centers, and then rent that computing power to the AI labs. In this model, everyone stays in their lane. NVIDIA makes the steel, OpenAI draws the blueprints, and Microsoft acts as the landlord and general contractor. They mix and match, cooperate where they can, and compete where they must. Among all the tech giants, however, there is one maverick, Google. Google is the only company going all in on vertical integration. This is a business school term for doing every single thing yourself and not relying on anyone. The most famous master of vertical integration is Apple. Apple designs its own M-series chips, hardware, writes its own Mac OS and iOS software, and builds its own iPhones and Macs, the final product. It controls every single step. In the AI race, Google is pulling the exact same playbook. It makes its own steel, chips. Google doesn't just rely on NVIDIA. It designs its own custom AI chip called the TPU, Tensor Processing Unit. It draws its own blueprints, models. Google has one of the world's most elite AI labs, Google DeepMind. The team behind AlphaGo, they build Google's own frontier models, like Gemini. It builds its own towers, cloud and products. Google Cloud deploys massive arrays of its own TPUs to train DeepMind's models. It's its own tenant, applications. Finally, Google seamlessly integrates this AI power into its own vast empire of products. Google Search, YouTube, Android, etc. In the initial sprint of the AI boom, Google's do-it-all-yourself model proved to be a massive handicap. The biggest problem? It's not nimble, it's slow to react. Microsoft's strategy, by contrast, was a lightning war, a blitzkrieg. It didn't need to toil for years to build a world-class AI model. It just had to find the best one, OpenAI, and then bury it in capital. Money and cloud credits to bind it to its own wagon. It was a mix-and-match masterstroke. Google, on the other hand, is a super aircraft carrier. It has immense power, but turning it is a slow, complex operation. It had to get its chip division, its AI lab, its cloud division, its search division, and its ad division all to agree and move in the same direction. The internal coordination was a nightmare. The result? When ChatGPT took the world by storm, Google was caught flat-footed. Everyone branded it an AI laggard. Wall Street is ruthless. For more than a year after ChatGPT's launch, investors flocked to Microsoft, driving its stock relative to its earnings through the roof. Google's parent company, Alphabet, was trading at a discount at roughly 2/3 of Microsoft's valuation. This created a bizarre situation. Google's net profits were actually growing faster than Microsoft's, as their October 29th earnings reports both showed. But the market didn't care. Google's story just wasn't as sexy. Lately, however, the wind has changed. The cold shoulder investors gave Google is rapidly turning into a warm embrace. In just the last 4 months, Alphabet's market cap has soared by $1 trillion, more than it gained in the previous 2.5 years combined. The valuation gap with Microsoft is shrinking fast. And here's the delicious irony. Google's clunky, old-fashioned vertical integration strategy is not only winning back the market, it's now being copied by its rivals, including, most tellingly, Microsoft and OpenAI. Google's early fumbling was especially painful, because this AI revolution was supposed to be its birthright. Unlike Microsoft, which had to pivot to AI, Google has been a machine learning company from its inception. Its original search algorithm was AI. The head of its DeepMind lab shared a Nobel Prize a few years ago for using AI to predict protein folding, but here's the most galling, most face-palming fact of all. The core technical blueprint for ChatGPT was invented by Google. In 2017, Google researchers published a seminal paper called "Attention is All You Need," which introduced the transformer architecture. That architecture is the fundamental building block for every modern large language model, including ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. To put it bluntly, Google literally drew the blueprints for the nuclear bomb, published them for all to see, and then watched as OpenAI built the bomb and used it to attack Google's fortress. When OpenAI shocked the world in late 2022, Google already had a similar chatbot internally, then called Lambda, but it sat on it, only releasing it in a rushed panic in February 2023. Why was it so slow? 2 words: bureaucracy and fear. As Google grew into a sprawling, stratified global giant, making decisions became paralyzingly difficult. This was especially true for any decision that could threaten its core business, search advertising. Google's golden goose is search ads. Its model is simple: you search, it gives you 10 blue links, you click, it gets paid. A chatbot is the opposite, you ask. It gives you one perfect answer. If everyone used a chatbot who would click the blue links, wouldn't Google's ad revenue collapse? This fear, the fear of a new product cannibalizing the old one, led to total decision paralysis. As it turns out, Google's fears were overblown. So far, there is zero evidence that chatbots are eating search. On the contrary, the AI overviews that Google started placing at the top of search results in May 2024 seem to be boosting engagement. The AI gives users a high-quality starting point, which piques their curiosity, keeps them engaged, and encourages them to ask more follow-up questions. Search behavior is actually being reinforced. The data doesn't lie. Google's search ad revenue is still chugging along, with healthy 10% year-over-year growth. For a business that already pulls in $50 billion a quarter, that kind of growth is a miracle. AI didn't just spare Google's ad business, it supercharged its second growth curve, non-ad revenue, especially Google Cloud. Google Cloud sales are rocketing up at a 30% annual rate. Even better, this division, which was a money loser as recently as late 2022, now accounts for nearly 1/10 of Alphabet's entire operating profit. Why are AI companies suddenly flocking to Google Cloud? The answer lies in Google's secret weapon, its TPU chips. Think of it this way. NVIDIA's GPU is a Swiss Army knife. It's great at a lot of things. Google's TPU is a custom-forged chef's knife. It was designed from day one to do one thing: run AI models. And in practice, TPUs have one massive, killer advantage over GPUs: energy efficiency. AI models are power hogs. The electricity needed to train and run them is astronomical. For AI companies, energy costs are a crippling expense. Because TPUs are tailor-made for AI, they are more powerful and way more power efficient. This led to a dramatic showdown. On October 23rd, OpenAI's biggest rival, Anthropic, maker of the Claude model, announced it was buying a massive $8 to $10 billion a year slice of computing power from Google Cloud, and they specifically demanded access to as many as 1 million Google TPUs. The fact that TPUs are so efficient is the direct payoff of Google's vertical integration strategy. It's just like how Apple's iOS runs so smoothly on Apple's M-series chips. Since 2015, Google's TPUs have been custom-built to work in perfect harmony with Google's hardware and software, now including its Gemini model. This hardware-software synergy results in a stunning economic advantage: cost control. When the AI boom started, analysts worried that the cost of an AI-powered search would be 5 times that of a traditional search. If true, this would have destroyed Google's profits. But the reality? Thanks to the deep optimization between its TPUs and its Gemini model, Google's cost per AI query is only 2 times that of a traditional search, not 5. How big a deal is this? Ahmed Khan of the research firm Morningstar calculates that AI dilutes Google's search gross margin almost imperceptibly, from an insane 90% down to just 86%. Let that sink in. Google's golden goose, its 90% gross margin search business, is practically unfazed by the massive costs of AI. Google's business model is rock solid. This cheat code level of cost efficiency explains everything that's happening in the industry right now. Why is OpenAI scrambling? Because it is bleeding billions of dollars. Every time you use ChatGPT, it's burning cash on expensive NVIDIA GPUs and expensive Microsoft cloud services. To stop the bleeding, OpenAI is now desperate to develop its own custom chips. Why is Microsoft scrambling? Because it's suddenly in the awkward position of being the middleman. It doesn't control the core AI model, that's OpenAI's, and it doesn't control the core chip, that's NVIDIA's. And so, in the greatest irony of all, Microsoft is desperately trying to become Google-fied. It launched an in-house chip design studio in 2023 to copy Google's TPU, and a new AI lab in 2024 to copy Google's DeepMind. But its second-gen Maya chip is already being delayed, and its model-building efforts are still in their infancy. It will be years before Microsoft can catch up to the deep, integrated advantage Google has been building for over a decade. In the first half of this AI race, Microsoft and OpenAI won the sprint with a nimble, mix-and-match strategy. But as the race turns into a marathon, everyone is realizing the truth about that clunky super aircraft carrier, Google. It was painfully slow to turn, inertia. But now that it's finally pointed in the right direction, its immense size, power, and vertically integrated stack have transformed into an unstoppable, crushing force, momentum. Google's inertia has, at last, become its momentum. 1.